This will be the second in the series on full range leadership model. As a brief review, in the first video lecture, I discussed transactional leadership, which ranges from laissez-faire through management by exception to contingent reward. In this lecture, I will discuss transformational leadership, which consists of individualized consideration, intellectual stimulation, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence. And again, the more active the leader becomes, the more effective that leader is. And obviously, the more passive, the less effective that leader is. Transformational leadership, again, consists of these four types of leader behaviors, and we will discuss those at greater length in the next few slides. There are some conditions that make it more favorable or make it easier for leaders to engage in transformational leadership. The first is crisis, change, or instability. Typically, when there's a crisis, people are easier to motivate. When conditions are unstable, it's typically easier to get people to commit to moving in one direction. And obviously, when there's ongoing change, again, it's typically easier to get people to commit to moving in one direction. Mediocrity. At some point, followers may become concerned that their personal, professional, and organizational outcomes are mediocre, and may be willing to change. This also may result in some form of disenchantment. Typically, again, if we're unhappy with conditions, we're more likely to be motivated to move to improve conditions. And some future opportunity may exist that will allow leaders to again help people transform or to change in order to take advantage of that future opportunity. The first type of leader behavior is individualized consideration, and that is the form of consideration or leader behavior in which the leader empathizes with the individual's needs. And that's not just in the form of transactions in terms of our needs for monetary compensation or benefits, but for our personal and professional needs for things like achievement and autonomy. And in that, the leader attempts to make interpersonal connections with the employees, tries to get to know them, improves the quality of the relationship if we think back to leader-member exchange theory, where it's more of a partnership rather than a stranger or just an acquaintance. And that the leader generally cares for and shows this compassion in their actions, in their relationships with the followers, and encourages continuous development and growth on the part of the employees. And again, that's out of a form of concern for both the organization, its mission, and for the individual members of that organization, so that they can improve and grow as both personal or as individuals and as professionals. The leader engages in intellectual stimulation, encourages imagination and creativity, challenges the old ways of doing things, so that again, if you're asking people to grow, then you're asking them to improve and to be more creative, and you're continually looking for better ways to do things in the private sector, especially. This is critical in organizations that seek what they call continual process improvement, where they continually try to squeeze out inefficiencies in their systems. And again, encourage followers not to think like the leader. I believe I've said before in class that George Patton was once quoted as talking about staff work on his staffs, in which he said that if everyone's thinking alike, then no one's thinking. And so these types of leaders aren't threatened by others thinking differently than they do. And these leaders are willing to take risk. It takes risk in order to achieve greater gain, and it takes new thinking, typically, which is risky because at times you may be attempting strategies or activities that have never been attempted before. The leader tries to inspire the followers instead of, again, just simply transactional motivation. It seeks to inspire others to perform. Clarifies where the organization will be in the future, so that people have some target on the horizon toward which they personally and professionally want to move. And again, to create a strong sense of purpose, that we exist here for more than just simply to draw a paycheck or to go through our daily motions, but that the organization has some greater purpose, and align the individual and organizational needs. Recall that we've continually throughout the course discussed the principal dilemma that leaders face is how to close the gap between what the organization needs and what individuals need, and to help those followers achieve more than even they thought was possible through these types of leader behaviors. Typically, we're able to move people beyond the level that they had previously thought possible. And then there's idealized influence, demonstrating an inclusive vision in which it's more than just simply the leader's vision. And again, this is typically one of the things that differentiates transformational from pseudo-transformational leadership, because many pseudo-transformational leaders will attempt to establish a vision, but typically that vision serves just them and not necessarily the organization and or the other members in the organization. Leaders here walk the walk. They behave the way they say people should behave. They demonstrate how to behave through actions rather than simply talking about how people should behave. They exhibit a great deal of commitment and persistence in pursuing the organization's objectives. They're not looking for the latest strategy du jour or the latest fad. They pursue a vision that will help the organization achieve its greater purpose over time. And they express confidence in the vision of the organization. They're typically very positive people and want to include others in that positivity. They develop trust and confidence among employees. People tend to trust transformational leaders more than they do just simply transactional leaders. And typically these leaders tend to symbolize the goals and the mission of the organization. They believe in them strongly and attempt to get other people to do so as well. Typically, transformational leaders, establish expectations, and they typically are able to achieve more than transactional leaders. Transactional leaders achieve expected outcomes, but transformational leaders typically expect people to move beyond expectations. And typically, transformational leadership augments transactional leadership. The best leaders use a combination of both. The research is pretty clear that we all work because we have personal needs. We have house payments, car payments. We want to send our kids to college, and that's obviously a transactional piece of our membership in an organization. But we all want to be a part of something larger than ourselves. For a variety of reasons, and good leaders engage in both types of leadership, both transactional and transformational. But typically, contingent reward is the lowest level of transactional leadership that a leader would want to engage in. Management by exceptions, both passive or active, are typically counterproductive, as well as is laissez-faire leadership. And again, the best mixture is going to depend upon the circumstances, but it's important to understand too that transformational leadership will not make up for any deficiencies in transactional leadership. So if you can't provide a level of benefits and pay that people believe to be fair and equitable, you're not going to be able to achieve a great deal by attempting to be transformational. You have to work out the transactional issues before you can move on to being transformational. Now leaders need to, if they want to be transformational, they have to develop and communicate that vision. And it can't just simply be something you put on a website or on a poster in the lobby at your office. They need to stress and use unconventional strategies. Again, transformational leadership, as the name implies, is transformational. It seeks to change people, and using unconventional strategies tends to get people to change. If you expect people to achieve high levels of performance, then you need to, as a leader, communicate high expectations, but also confidence that people can achieve those high levels of performance. Show individualized concern. As a leader, you have to care. You have to care about people in the organization. You have to care about the organization. You have to care about its purpose. And you have to demonstrate self-sacrifice, that you have to demonstrate that the people in the organization itself, and the purpose for which the organization exists is more important than you as an individual leader. You have to act confident and optimistic. People are much more willing to follow leaders who are positive and optimistic about achieving the outcome than people who are negative and pessimistic. And use emotional appeals. It may sound corny, but talking about what the purpose of the organization is typically, especially at the senior levels, much more productive than getting down into the weeds of how to perform the day in, day out task that the people throughout the organization have to engage in. And then use impression management as is appropriate. A certain amount of leadership is theater. Now it can't be, again, pseudo-transformational, it can't be false, but leaders need to understand that the video trumps audio, that people are continually watching leaders and are looking for signals about what that leader wants. So use that your time on the stage as a leader productively. There are some processes that help us account for outcomes. People tend to identify more strongly with transformational leaders. They tend to identify more strongly with groups that are led by transformational leaders, because those groups tend to have higher levels of cohesion. People want to be members of cohesive groups. They tend to internalize the values, the norms of those groups and those organizations. So they tend to adopt the vision of the organization as their own vision. They tend to believe that they're more capable, that they have increased levels of confidence about their abilities, especially about their abilities to contribute to the organization, achieving the vision that the transformational leader helps them buy into or helps them develop and work toward. Now, the outcomes we see for transformational leadership are at the individual level what we see through various other types of leader behaviors, but essentially we find that individuals are more motivated, they're much more satisfied in the workplace, and their level of performance obviously is higher if led in a transformational manner. That at the group level we tend to see group structural dimensions improve. that we see norms that support the organization, that we see roles that are clearly defined and that are broad enough to allow people the level of autonomy to grow, be creative, take risk, that the status is again conferred, and that status isn't necessarily related to the hierarchical place in the organization, that everyone is respected in the organization. And finally, that the level of cohesion becomes much stronger when leaders lead in a transformational manner. Obviously, the group performance is going to improve as groups contribute to the organization's mission. And then finally, at the organizational level, we see improved levels of culture and climate, and we'll discuss those in more detail when we get into Area 4. And finally, the organization as a whole is obviously going to perform much better if it's pursuing that vision rather than just simply going through the routine daily that you can get in a rut doing.